You gonna make your sound for me? It's been a long time since I've made any videos. I think the last one I did, in fact, I know the last one I did was decorating the chicken coop. And this video is not about my chickens. I am going to make a video to show all the things I've done or we've done lately to upgrade it because there's been a lot of changes. And so there'll be a video all on that. But I wanted to make a video of all the things we've done in the past year. So it seems like sometimes we haven't done much, but I have recorded everything all year long. And when we look back on it, it's like, gosh, we really have done a lot, made a lot of progress. We're gonna go through it as quick as we can and kind of show you what we've been up to. In February of 2021, all of Texas was hit with what we call Snowmageddon. It was awful. We were stuck in here for a week with no power, no water. It was just horrendous. And so no heat.
And it was in the single digits and teens outside.
We couldn't stay in the camper because the doors were frozen shut. It was awful. And inside this shop, we didn't have it super insulated yet. And this wall wasn't here. It was like living in a garage. It was the most awful. I mean, everyone in Texas, I'm sure, has a story because it was bad. So while we were freezing to death and we were planning and writing down all the things we were gonna do so we would not suffer again if that ever happened. So first thing we really decided was we need heat, and we decided to put a wood stove in the shop.
So we decided to locate the wood stove in the shop, which may be a little out of the ordinary, but we thought it would have more long-term benefit being out there than in the living space. So I'd never done one of these before, and so it was kind of a learning process to figure all this out. I knew nothing about wood stoves growing up in Texas. They don't really have them here. So researched it, went and bought a cheap one. I think we bought this at, I can't remember exactly, it was someplace inexpensive. Oh, it was Tractor Supply. I think that's where we got it. Anyway, it's not a cast iron, it's a steel one, but it had a glass front. We wanted to make sure we could see the fire. There is a place here in town that installs these, and so I went and interrogated the salespeople over there to figure out what all I needed to do in order to do it. Bought all the parts from them, came back, and put the thing in.
And it took us how long?
It was a weekend, basically. I mean, I think it took us half a day to move the thing and set it in place, and only dropped it once.
Yeah, that was bad. I may or may not put the footage in, we'll see. That was bad. It's fine though, it's fine, it works great. And most importantly, we're not gonna freeze. We have plenty of wood around here. I mean, we've got trees. We can cut down a tree a day for the rest of our lives and never, never be done. Yeah, so we've got plenty of wood, and thankfully, we will never freeze again. So that was our first big project of the year. One of the things that really, really irritated me about living in this apartment that we're in is that there was no concrete, there was no porch, and it was just so awful. You could step outside and you're in rocks. It was dirty and got muddy, and I couldn't decorate it. I've always wanted a beautiful Pinterest porch with nice furniture, but to do that, we needed concrete. So we researched and found someone who was actually willing to do it, but he wanted to go ahead and do it all the way around.
Well, because at the time we were looking at this, we were under the realization that it may be another 2 or 3 years before we could start the house.
Right.
And so the 600 square foot that we had of the apartment wasn't really big enough to live in. And so I came up with this plan to add on to the back of the shop. It's under the overhang piece that I had for trailers and tools and stuff. And if we enclosed part of it, we could make it into a bedroom and a bathroom and a pantry and all of that. And we could turn the original 600 square feet into a kitchen, dining kind of great room space. And that was going to give us a total of 1,100 square feet. Not a bad size for a house in general, but I figured it would be a comfortable place for us to live while we waited for either prices to come down, availability of contractors, etc., before we could get the house started. It'd be a lot more comfortable place to live. And so we decided to move forward with that.
The concrete guy we found had a good price, and he brought his crew and got everything set up. And then this is you doing the plumbing.
Yeah, so I did all of the below slab plumbing installation for the bathroom. We bought a shower, we bought a toilet, we're gonna have real running water. And so I couldn't get a plumber to come out here, so I had to figure out how to do it myself. So a lot of YouTube videos and everything else.
And you talked to some friends that knew how to do all that, so.
The nuances, and what I figured out is there's several different ways to do it, and you just have to figure out which way is the most appropriate for your specific situation. And so I think I got it done pretty well. Then they came out and poured all the concrete. And I had them do a little extra for the big overhead door so that I could drive through the shop.
So once this concrete finally hardened, it was so exciting. Of course, I wanted rocking chairs. So I ordered some, and then Mark was sweet enough to put them together for me. And they're just amazing. They're really big, they rock really well, they're very comfortable. I immediately set upon the task of decorating, and in September, I went all crazy and tried my hand at my first Pinterest porch, and I think it turned out pretty well for a first try. But I am just really excited to every season have new decorations.
So then we kind of turned our attention to finishing out the apartment, and we moved everything out of it. We moved back into the camper and made this into a construction zone again to finish it out.
Do we want to talk about scorpions?
You can.
So we should have got video, but it was too scary. When we first had it for like 2 Christmases ago, we had the shiplap up and it looked good.
It just wasn't painted.
It wasn't,
primed.
yeah, and we didn't have, it was still concrete floor. The ceiling wasn't done. It was just the raw ceiling. And we were sleeping out here though, because the insulation in the walls was great. So it stayed nice and cool in here with the air conditioner. And so we had the bed out here. So we would, and we're still, we cook, we shower, we do everything out in the camper, and then we sleep out here because it's so much more comfortable. Well, sleeping, it was the last summer, sleeping in here, I'm laying in bed one night and I feel this, and then on my pillow. So of course I jump up, scream, turn on the lights, and it's a scorpion on the pillow. It was bad. It was bad. It was about this big. I don't care if it was this big. Scared me to death, middle of the night, and I'm glad I woke up.
And it wasn't the only one.
No. So that happened, and of course I freaked out and, wasn't sure where it was, somewhere up above.
And so the neuroses set in.
Yeah, and so he said, well, it's not going to happen again, whatever, it's fine, just go back to bed. Of course, couldn't sleep that night. I think it was the very next night it happened again. And this time he didn't believe me. He was thinking, oh, it's just, you're just real sensitive. Jumped out of bed, turned on the lights. Sure enough, this was a bigger scorpion on the bed. Screaming, crying.
A couple nights later,
it was bad.
One landed on me.
Yeah, so it's like, okay. It's like, I will not live here. I will, we have to fix this. I will, So anyway, that's when we really decided to go all into finishing the inside. Most importantly, getting the ceiling completely insulated, because the ceiling wasn't insulated at that point. It was just open.
Right, so we didn't have it finished.
So we figured that the scorpions were coming up and crawling along the beams and just dropping. And
I
so,
think they were trying to crawl down the walls, but it was so slick that they would just fall.
yeah. So anyway, that's why we decided to get it all fixed up. So then we went ahead and started going crazy because we wanted it to be painted. We put in the ceiling, put in a new floor, and now it's completely enclosed. And thank goodness we haven't seen another scorpion since. But anyway, that's the scorpion story.
We had 3 major projects in the apartment to complete before moving back into it. The first was painting it, and I bought a paint sprayer because I wasn't going to roll on this paint. The sprayer made it really fast, easy project. We went round and round on what to do for the ceiling. I knew I wasn't going to put up sheetrock. I had to do something that was going to work with the existing structure.
And something we could insulate.
Yeah, and something we could insulate above it. And we decided on it's galvanized finish flush metal soffit panels. So it looks, to me, as a designer, it looks kind of like an homage to an old tin ceiling that you might see in a bar or restaurant or soda shop in the 50s. So in order to put that in, I knew the peak of the ceiling is 16 feet, and I don't have a ladder tall enough to do that. So I rented a lift, and between the two of us, we put this in. I don't know, it took us, I rented the lift for a week, or two weeks actually it was. And between ladders and our scaffold setup and this lift, we were able to get this done. And
The lift was amazing.
The lift was pretty cool.
I almost wish we owned one because, for high ceilings, even when we had a house one day, it was great.
Push this down.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's cool.
So it gives you a good, is that 6 feet or so?
Mm-hmm.
And so the most interesting part was when I bought this material, I asked the girl at the store, I said, are there any instructions on installing this stuff? She said, no, you just got to figure it out. I'm like, yay. So never done one of these. I understand the concept and I've drawn them before, but I've never installed one. So it's kind of good.
So how many panels was this? Do you remember the number?
No, but you can count them.
I had to do this for every single panel, and that stuff was super sticky and it was a real pain. So I would take the plastic off, carry it inside where he's on the lift, hand it up to him, and then I would get up there too.
The good news was we bought this from a roofing supply house, and so they custom made all of them for us. So the lengths they came pre-cut. Everything was done. So we didn't have to do anything except peel them and screw them in.
Mm-hmm. So this is after we got the first one up, and we were trying to figure out
and so we bought
how to insulate.
The really thick rock wool insulation. So that's, I think it's 8 inches. It's an 8-inch batt, and that's an 8-inch purlin. But the fiberglass insulation that's in the building is vinyl faced 3.5-inch fiberglass. And so I had to kind of squeeze the rock wool to get it in there in the bulgy middle area. But I think it gives us a total roof insulation of like 40 something.
I thought it was well insulated before we had the ceiling done. It made such a huge difference, but now that the entire thing is insulated, it was freezing last night. It was like 30, 31, and we only had the heater on right before we went to bed, and we didn't have the heater on the rest of the night. It's that well insulated. And in the summer, same thing.
Yeah, you turn the air on for about an hour and then it'll stay cool all day.
We've been really, really happy with it.
And sound.
Oh,
You can't hear anything going on outside.
And people talk about in a metal building, ooh, when it rains, you can hear something. No, you can't hear a thing. The only way we know it's raining is to go out in the shop part where it's like a garage, you can hear it, or go outside, or look out the window and go, oh, I think it's raining.
Wait, what's that? Is it raining?
Yeah, so it is just so funny. It's almost kind of disappointing because I like the sound of rain. So unless we open the windows, we can't hear it. Then we got to install the ceiling fan.
So I cut a piece of the metal that all this material shipped with, and I made a piece that'll give me a horizontal plane for the ceiling fan to suck up to in the center of the roof. So I cut the edges of it to go into the gable end. So this is where it goes and how it fits. And I just gotta figure out how to hold it up here.
Is it gonna work?
My goal was to get like a big ass fan. Those are ridiculously expensive. And so we found these they're at Home Depot, and you can get them in a number of different widths, but it's a very small footprint fan, but it's 8-foot blades or 4-foot blades. So the whole diameter is 8 feet across. And it looked really slick, and it's cheap. So.
What we pay for it, or did you already say?
It was right around $500, I think, for this big one.
How hard was this to install? Wasn't that bad?
It was pretty easy. The hardest part was the last one is the hardest one to put on because you can't squeeze between the blades in order to get up there very easily. And then, just maneuvering around because it's hanging down. I think the bottom of the fan it's about 10 feet off the floor. And I had to take the blades off a couple of times to do stuff above it and things like that where I could get the lift because it's probably 5 or 6 feet off the ceiling up there.
We love this thing.
So I have always had this idea when this was going to be my office to put in some really cool pendant lights. And so I worked with one of our reps that we use all the time to get me some really nice lights. These are 8-foot long LED pendants with an uplight and a downlight separately switched and dimmed and dimmable. Really love these lights. As it turns out though, after we installed them, we don't actually use them very much.
Right.
I mean,
We don't
went to all this trouble and all this expense to get them and do all this, and I think we've turned them on a total of 3 times.
Yeah. Really helps when I want to mop the floor.
Yeah, when you want to see, it's
Then I
great,
can
but
see.
just regular ambient light, we
Right.
don't need them.
Yeah.
I mean, right now there's no light in the space, and you can see how bright it is in here. I mean, you don't really need.
Yeah, with the windows and the door, it just didn't need it. But they are really cool.
They're cool lights. I really like them. Okay, and we turn on the uplight of 1, the uplight of 2. You can dim it. Dim it. Downlight of 1, downlight of 2. You can dim them.
Once the ceiling was completely done, it was time to move on to the floor. And we thought, what's the best thing? We wanted something that was going to be easy to take care of, almost indestructible because we're dogs and we're tracking stuff in and out. This was connected to the garage part of the shop. We knew it was going to take a lot of abuse. So he suggested LVP, that luxury vinyl plank. So I brought lots of samples home from a store in town and we settled on this, and I love it. I think we both love it.
Yeah, I know I didn't want a floating floor because I didn't want it to sound hollow. So we got, it's vinyl and it's glued down. It's a wood look vinyl, but it's really nice. I mean, it's very simple. It was very inexpensive. And if you ever damage one of the tiles or anything, they're super easy to just pull up and slap another one down. I didn't install this. We had the flooring shop guy come out and install it.
And he was fast.
He was quick. He did it all in a day by himself, and he did an excellent job.
Yeah.
And then the best part is he showed me how to do it. Yeah. So when I do the expansion, I can do it myself.
Yep. It's gonna be awesome.
So the next step we decided to do was put in a septic tank. We wanted to only do it one time. So we designed the septic, or had it designed for both the apartment and the house, and hired a guy to come out and do it for us because I wasn't even gonna try. Being it's for 2 buildings, it has to be huge. So it's twice the size, I guess, of normal, single house septic system. So I was like, bite the bullet and let's just, you know, go big or go home.
And the most disappointing thing about the whole installation was that we had to go somewhere. I don't remember where we went, but we missed the delivery of the actual tanks. I wanted to watch that part. I wanted to get video of it. Where were we?
I don't know, we had to go into town for something and we passed them on the road.
Yeah, it's like, there goes our septic tank, and we had to go, and we couldn't get out of what we were doing.
And by the time we got back, we actually saw the truck leaving.
Yeah,
when
it was
we were
already in the
driving back
ground.
out.
So no video of that, sorry. We were very disappointed. It was just so funny to see. There it goes. That's going to our house right
And
there.
I called the guy to confirm. I was like, is that my tank? And he says, oh yeah, it should be on its way out here. I'm like, yeah, I just passed it.
Little miscommunication. We didn't think they were coming that day.
This is the bathroom. The sink will come off of this line. The toilet's gonna go here. The shower goes here. The waste line comes out and flows down and around to the tank. That's the split piece, and that pipe will be continued to go to the house. So the house sewer will tie into that and flows down here. This is basically a small sewage treatment plant. Water comes into here. The trash tank is the first compartment. The wall is basically here. And solids settle out and float to the top, and then it pulls the water out of the middle, goes into the second tank, which is called a roiling tank, which has a couple of aquarium aerators in it, and it just pushes air bubbles up through the water continuously, and it clarifies the water, and the clear water sinks to the bottom and goes under the wall into this third tank and fills this third tank with clear, no particulate water. And then when it flows out of there, it comes into this tank, and as this tank fills up, there's a straw basically in there, and it pushes the air up in the straw, and that equalizes the pressure and doses the water in there with chlorine, with bleach.
Okay.
Basically drips into the water at a prescribed rate. When the water level gets to a certain point, it activates the pump. If the clock is set, the clock will only allow the pump to run at like 2 a.m. in the morning. And so at 2 a.m., if there's enough water in the tank, the pump will turn on and it will pump the water out till there's 2 sprinkler heads out there, and it'll spray until the water level drops.
How long is this line?
66 feet. There's a sprinkler at 33 feet and another one at 66 feet.
So we'll have some nice green grass out there.
So after the septic tank went in and everything, I kept working on the expansion, and I was going to build out the expansion myself. But it was getting into the middle of summer and it was hot, and we're in a queue to actually have a swimming pool installed.
April of 2025. That's our.
So we're like,
that's where we are on the list.
And so I just had the brain fart of an idea. Why don't we get a cheap Walmart above ground pool to just get us through the summers and have a place that we can cool off? And so we went out and bought one, and I took a break from the expansion work, and we spent a week or so and put in this above ground pool. So we thought buying one of these cheap pools, putting it in would be easy. After watching some videos online, I realized it was going to be kind of a bigger project than I originally thought. Getting a level compacted pad, this thing had to be set level, and we don't have much level ground out here anywhere. And with so many rocks and everything else, I needed to put in kind of a padded section. So we had a bunch of this sandy material left from putting in the septic tank, and so I just scraped off a piece of flat ground as good as I could get it, and then backfilled it with this sandy stuff that we had. It's actually, I think it's river sand that they brought in to fill the holes for the septic tank. Anyway, spread it around, rented a compactor for the weekend, and compacted this thing in place. I ended up doing a screed by driving a stake in the center of the circle and getting a straight 2x4, putting a level on it, and just started going in a circle, dragging it around in a circle to scrape it off nice and level, and fill the dirt, then wet it down, compact it some more, over and over and over. I probably went over this thing, I don't know, 10 or 12 times.
It was a lot.
And got it all put in, got it leveled. I bought some of these 2-inch thick cinder blocks that are 8 by 16, 2-inch thick, and put those under every leg of the pool so it wouldn't punch down into the ground. And so after doing all of this, then we started standing the pool up. That process went pretty fast.
Except that when it was up, we had to turn it because it wasn't
Oh yeah.
on the blocks.
Because
exactly.
I didn't want the pumps and those hoses sitting in the afternoon sun all day.
Right.
I wanted all the pumps and everything to be on the east side, was going to be the most protected side.
So once we got it up like this, you had to,
Yeah.
it's like,
'cause
oh
you
no.
couldn't- Before we unrolled it and got it all stood up, you didn't know where all these
Right.
positions were. I couldn't
Yeah.
tell where anything was.
Mhm.
And so we ended up having to turn it, I don't know, 90 degrees or more. And then we had a 50-gallon water tank in the back of our mule that we used to get, I don't know, the first inch or two in, which is the most important piece, so that you can get the bottom of it all flat. You can get all the wrinkles out of the bottom. So she'd drive back and forth filling up that tank, and I grabbed a beer and walked around in the bottom of the pool, pushing out all the wrinkles.
But we didn't want to tax our well by filling the entire pool with well water. Besides, it's so hard, it's just gross. So we found a company that would deliver water for us. And that was amazing.
Yeah, pretty cheap too.
Yeah, considering.
Yeah, we got, what, 4,000 gallons of water delivered for $700,
Yeah.
something like that.
That really was worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Because it was potable water from a, what do you call it, municipal source
Right,
near here.
yeah.
So,
And it wasn't nearly as cold as well water. We're really happy that we did it. It really did make the summer a lot more bearable.
yeah,
We had a horrible drought this summer,
yeah.
and it got up to 109, 106. I mean, every single day it was just so bad. So we decided to install a rainwater collection system to ensure that we always have enough water and aren't just relying on the well.
We found a company, it's probably the best in the state, they're out of Dripping Springs, to come up here and put in the system for us. But we were in a 6-month waiting list of the queue to get it done. We actually contracted with them back in November around Thanksgiving. They didn't come out till June or July to put it in. And they were out here for a week. It took them a week of rock sawing and tank install and gutters and downspouts and all of that to get it put in. But I think at the end of the day, it looks really good.
And we couldn't believe our luck, because not long after the thing was actually set up and all the gutters installed, it poured. It was so nice, we couldn't believe it. We figured we'd install it and have to wait months for a drop of rain, but we really got lucky.
So it's got an access ladder and a hatch. You can see the water inside. This is where the water comes up. So it's collected on the downspouts. It runs all underground. It's piped over to here. This point where it flows into the tank is about 2 to 3 feet lower than the height of the gutters on the building. So the water will equal out. So as the water fills into the system, it raises up this and it fills the tank without overflowing the gutters. Our first flush is actually underground. So you need a first flush system to rinse, the first bout of water that comes off is going to take all the bird crap and leaves and debris and everything and flush it in. Well, there's a diverter pipe here, comes out around the corner, goes to that, and there's a vault underground with a valve. And so this all fills up with that dirty water at the first flush, and then it starts working its way up to fill. And then this just has to get flushed out or dumped out every now and then. So they have a system, they have a device that they put in here that will allow that first flush water to just trickle out over time. And it basically, the volume of water would never leave this box. It just dribbles out really slow. It's like a little pinhole in the fitting. And I said, well, I want to control that water because I want to use it. I want to use it to put another wildlife waterer down the hill here a little bit and just keep it filled with the water out of this system. So I had them just put in a shutoff valve that I have to remember to come and open to drain it out and everything. But they put in a second valve for me if I wanted to use this water, that's backed up in here. I could use it to water the garden. I can use it for kind of whatever. And so I've got 2 valves in here that right now to flush out the first, I just turn them up, open them up, and the water goes everywhere. But I can hook up hoses and stuff to them in the future, and we'll be able to use this water for wildlife or gardening. Water in there.
How much is going to overflow?
A lot. This thing's about 25 foot in diameter and it's 8 feet tall. It's 30,000 gallons. And shortly after it was put in, we got about 1 inch of rain, and that filled it up to here. And I just marked that because we were just going to watch it fill up. This is a float that as the water fills up inside, this is all connected to a pulley and a float inside, that it goes up as the water comes in. So now, in the past month or so, we've gotten 5.5 inches of rain, and it's up to here. So it's almost full. So the way the math works out is we get, for every inch of rain on the building is 2,500 gallons. So that comes into here, it's about 8 to 10 inches of fill on this tank. So it only takes, what is that math? I think it's 10 inches of rain basically will fill this thing up, which we should get, according to Farmer's Almanac and all of that, we get 23-ish inches a year.
I don't think we got that last year with the drought,
But and the thing about it is, I didn't originally want anything this big. I just wanted something that would get us through the drought and still have water. Mm-hmm. Which we don't use that much water. When we were living in Austin, I went back and did all the math on that. We were using 200 gallons a day when we weren't running the irrigation system, obviously. And that was pretty consistent, even with 2 or 3 of us living in the house. And so I figure we're probably using less than half of that out here. So I figure we can easily get through a drought, using, 100 gallons a day. And so I didn't need a tank near this big, but when I started looking at the price differences between this and the smaller tanks and everything, it just didn't make sense.
Well, part of it also was they would do all the install if you got this size tank, whereas if we had gotten the smaller tank, we would have had to either install it or do the trenching or something. Putting in all the gutters. That's what it was.
The big difference was when we were talking about, we originally hired them to do just a smaller tank, about half the size, but we were only catching water off half the building. And he said, well, that's only 2 downspouts. I can't hire his gutter guy or downspout guy to come out and do that part of the work. So I would have to do that. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. So he said, but if you do all, 5 downspouts, that's enough for him to justify coming out. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, let's do that, because I don't want to have to screw with that stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was only a couple $1,000s more total. Mm-hmm.
It was worth it
to get double the tank size. I mean, it wasn't that much.
And then get it installed in a week. I mean, it was super quick with the whole team. So.
So I was going to frame up these walls and do all of this, and one of the downsides of this building is that it moves a lot. And when we're sleeping out here, you can hear the building swaying when it's windy out, when it's real windy.
Before we framed all this inside, it was scary when we had high winds.
High winds would make this building move a lot. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do what I could to kind of help improve that.
So he's building that wall right now, which is going to be really cool because it's going to have windows in it. big windows, and those are the windows. So they'll open at the bottom. Very cool. Are you having fun?
You betcha. Until it gets to 109 today is what they said.
Good God.
And so I talked to the structural engineer and we figured out how to put some lateral bracing and shear walls and everything. And I built it into this addition to help stiffen the walls or help stiffen the building overall. And so this expansion is way over designed for what it should be, but it's doing 2 or 3 different jobs. So I finished framing up the walls, got it all dried in, we put the windows in, and we opened up the wall to the shop or to the apartment, and I took all the insulation out, went and bought some more insulation, and we basically insulated the perimeter of that room. And I knew I was gonna have spray foam in the ceiling as a sort of first layer to avoid the potential for leaks, and then I'm gonna put more rock wool underneath that. We found a really good company in town, hired them to come out here, and they did the spray foam in a day, and it looks great.
Okay, here's one way into the addition. That's going to be a bedroom. And here's going to be a little hallway. And on this side, there'll be a shower, vanity, and a toilet all in this area. Got the dog door put in. There's another door out. This is the pressure tank and filtration system for the rainwater. We'll have a washer and dryer over here. This whole side's going to be more of a utility and storage area. Next thing Mark's going to do is cut a doorway through here to go into the apartment. And eventually we'll have a really pretty view out these windows once we get rid of that pile left over from the septic tanks.
We're real excited about having this addition because we'll be able to have a bedroom out there, actual, running bathroom with running water.
Flushing toilet.
A flushing toilet. I mean, it's going to be awesome. So we're real excited. But in the midst of all of this, over the last year, the biggest thing that we've been trying to do is find a contractor to build our house. And, with COVID and like you said, the prices and the supply and everything.
And being so remote. That's our biggest problem, is that no one wants to come out here. I mean, we are way out. So we went through cold calling contractors, interviewing contractors,
going to see projects that they have done, having contractors come out here and see our property, and plan changes. And it went from a custom home design, being the architect, he had it all worked out, it was a great plan, to
tiny houses,
because it wasn't going to happen. We could not find a custom home builder that would come out here. No way, unless we wanted to pay a fortune.
And so then I had this brilliant idea to do it as tiny house modules on trailers, basically, and bring them out here and just connect them all together and then build out, the kind of exterior rooms and stuff, and enclose it all and make it one big house.
Yeah, so that was the plan for a while.
We ran that for several months.
Yeah, contractor, we dealt with him, we talked to him, we had it all planned. We were picking out finishes. I picked out the bathtub and shower I wanted and everything, and then
we were to the point of signing the contract, and I
remember what it was. One of our problems was we didn't know if we wanted a concrete slab, and we were going to do pier and beam. That was what the tiny house thing was. But we always thought having a concrete slab and that kind of construction would be better overall. And it was after we got the concrete poured around the shop that I think that was part of the realization. You were like, well, if we found this concrete guy, we can have a concrete slab.
Yeah.
And then that's what got his wheels turning and started rethinking everything.
And the bad part about the whole tiny house thing was these modules, they were going to be interior. And then I was going to have to build the rest of the house around it.
Which would have taken
And in the process was the tiny houses were going to be delivered finished.
Right.
Soup to nuts, everything in them. But we would just leave them sitting out where they were ultimately going to be but they have to be in the elements for
Right.
probably close to a year before they could be protected and enclosed. And I'm like,
Mhm.
they're gonna rot and fall apart, you know,
Yeah.
before we get the house enclosed around them. So it was just that, it was the whole timing, the logistics of understanding how to finish out the house. If I was gonna build it myself, and so I finally just realized that wasn't a way to do it. If I couldn't get framers out here to frame a roof over the whole thing and do all of that, which at that point we couldn't do.
Right.
And so we changed gears again, and we started thinking about metal building, barn dominium, that kind of stuff. And we interviewed a couple of guys, but even their pricing was so ridiculous.
And they didn't want to do everything we wanted to do. The way they had their way,
Yeah.
and that was the way they were going to do it. And they didn't want to work with us on some of the tweaks that we wanted. But it was funny taking the plan and morphing it into a rectangle, which is what most barn doors are, just a rectangle. It grew so big. The thing is way bigger than we intended. It's going to be, what, 2,400 square feet, just the house, and have
a 10-foot wraparound
porch all the way around, which is how many square feet of concrete?
It's another 2,400 square feet. So the whole slab will be 4,800 square feet.
I mean,
it's massive.
It's massive. And we didn't need that. It's just the two of us. Every now and then we'll have family out. It's just the two of us. So we started, your house plan was 2-bedroom. The original custom home was
it was
a 2-bedroom.
about 1,200 square feet.
It was manageable for people who are retired and move, empty nesters. And we thought, okay, that's going to work. But it had to fit into a rectangle. And so anyway, so that's what's happening. We actually, this has been a painful process, but now it's going to be a race to see what's finished first, the addition or the house, because we found a great contractor that we're working with. He's already started, and we're going to get this house a lot quicker than we ever thought, I think. So we'll get video of that whole process and kind of take you along. If you want to watch that, I'll make videos on that. But it's just, right now I can see out my window and I can see construction.
We got plumbing going in now, and we're about to have a slab here in another couple of weeks.
Yeah, so very excited. It's like, it's finally happening after 3 years. It's awesome. So that's where we are now. You're all caught up, and I will, like I said, I'm going to work on a chicken coop video. We've had lots of bird drama. Lots of things happen with the guineas and the chickens. I'm going to work on that video, but we've done a lot of improvements. As I've owned chickens and had a coop and realized, oh, this needs to be changed, this needs to be changed. So we have done quite a bit to make the whole coop situation better. So, well, I told you what to do, and then you did it. And that's I helped. I recorded and handed you stuff. Yeah, it's my job, right?
Okay.
So, anyway, if you're still here after all this long video, thanks for watching. And hopefully it won't be another year till I have the next video.
You talk a big story about doing videos every couple of weeks, but
I know. Well, that was before, so I'm going to get back into it. So, especially with the house build and everything, I think that'll be fun to document. So at least it's for us anyway. It'll be fun to watch. So if you're interested in watching that, stay tuned.